the gold sucker. We want the gold sucker.
So hard to believe that we are in the midst of a pay-per-view. That's what I got to say about that. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Sage Lamar from It's Real Wrestling Podcast. Oh, man. I feel like it's been forever since we actually had a pay-per-view. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I didn't watch the Super Showdown that happened a couple of weeks back. From what I could tell, I wasn't missing very much, but still just kind of feels like it's a very long time. But you know, that's kind of the way that it goes. It's kind of the way that it goes. Before we get into things, y'all make sure to check us out on Twitter at Real WrestleCast on Twitter. You know, we on the gram. Hit us up with the gram. It's Real Wrestling Podcast, all spelled out. And if you're listening to us on the audio podcast and you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. The frequency is definitely better on YouTube right now. It's Real Wrestling Podcast, all spelled out. Or you could just search for IRWP and then put Sage or Ben Goosen in there, and we'll show up. So we definitely at the top of the list when it comes to that. So interesting week in wrestling. I don't even know where to start. Part of me wants to start with Raw. Part of me wants to start with SmackDown. Part of me just wants to go into the predictions. And the other part of me wants to talk about what's been going on in the IWC community that's really gotten your boy really messed up. And I figure, you know, I'll stash that behind, and let's just go ahead and start off with my thoughts on Raw. Raw surprisingly was very entertaining this week. And I know that a lot of people, you know, gripe about Raw and consistently dump on it, but I thought it was a really good product this week. One of the things that I admired the most about it was the consistency of the overarching storyline of the TV show, which was basically Seth Rollins taking out anyone who was wanted to align themselves with Baron Corbin as the special guest referee in their match this Sunday. So I liked it. It opened up with Elias crapping on the crowd. I absolutely love that. And then out of nowhere, Seth Rollins comes in with the chair and just starts, taking him out. I thought it was, and that kept going on during the course of the show, and I definitely enjoyed that consistency because it really told the story of what Raw was completely about. It was centered around the WWE title, the Universal title. So definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. We also got which was kind of weird. The U.S. title. I'm still trying to get used to this whole superstar shakeup / wild card thing going on. But can we just say, for like the sake of argument, that the brand split is it's done? Like I could have sworn we saw like 8 people, and I kid you not, we saw like 8 different people between the two brands. Just on each other's brand, which I thought was just completely weird. And shout outs to my boy Silky Mel Johnson in the chat, concurring that, that this wild card is definitely trash, which it is. But it's clear to see that the wild card is just, it was basically a way of just saying, hey, there's no longer a brand split. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Honestly, I think that we're all intelligent enough to know that the brand split is gone. So I don't think that we need to we need to talk about this wild card like every single week. We don't need to talk about it, or have them announce it. To me, I think that it's just kind of garbage and trash, and we need to. We definitely need to just do away with that. Kofi even said it himself, man. It doesn't matter. Like I'm the how do you say? I'm the champion. I can go between whatever brands that I want to go again. And if I'm going, I'm going to bring my boys with me. That's essentially what he says. So to me, that was just confirming the fact that, hey, the brand split is completely done. So, it is what it was. I enjoyed it while it lasted. But, here's to whatever they decide to do going forward. So from there, the other thing that I found interesting, and I love Becky Lynch. I really do. I don't know why she's going against Lacey again. I feel like this whole story arc with Becky post WrestleMania has just been centered around Lacey, and I don't know why. Like, either going to give her the title or you're not. If she's going to lose this time, or we're going to get next month with Lacey again, or SummerSlam with Lacey again, I don't want to see that. There's so many other women on the roster that Becky could actually be having matches with, instead of just going on the mic and just repeating the same shtick over and over and over again. I would love to see Becky versus what's her name? Ruby Riott. I don't know if she's healthy or not. Sarah Logan would be good. I would like to see that. Ember Moon would be good as well, like Silky says. But we're not getting none of that. All we're getting is Lacey over and over and over again. And I know the women's division is steeper than that. I mean, heck, you could bring one half of the Iconics against a one-on-one match against Becky, and that would be better than just having the same old shtick over and over and over again. I'm tired. I like the trash talking, but the thing that drew me to this Becky's version was literally her beating people up. And going wild with it. But we don't even see that. Liv Morgan's another one. We don't see her. I think that she's on... I think that they've been kind of showing her on Superstars. Dana Brooke is out with an injury, unfortunately, and hopefully she'll get better really, really quick. But the champ needs variety. I mean, you can still have matches and still keep that same storyline going. But, I don't know. They got to do something with Becky, man. She's a great talent. You should use it. Where's Mickie James? I mean, I haven't seen Mickie in a while. We could be seeing that matchup with Mickie, but I don't know. And the last takeaway that I have for Raw is I wouldn't say last one. I loved Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse this week, and it seems like it was a fitting conclusion that this is going to be the end of the episodics, at least on a consistent basis. I think Bray Wyatt now is ready to come out. And I have to take a minute to just kind of like really appreciate the storytelling between Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, and everything that's going on in this world. To me, the way that this whole thing has been playing out is that, hey, Bray's gotten, he's gotten his essence like tucked away because of the Lake of Resurrection. Even though they don't reference it, this is the continuity that I'm seeing. Like, his brain and his mind and his ego, his character is completely washed, but there's an essence that's still there, trying to break out and trying to get out of this like cage that he's been put in because of the effects of the Lake of Resurrection. And the Fiend is coming out, and that's that personality that's kind of bursting out of the seams. And I like that. And I every week of the Funhouse, we see him, the Fiend, taking more and more and more control over Bray Wyatt's character to eventually open the door, and then him just being completely unleashed. I'm so interested to see how they take the character in ring. I'm really hoping that the heel and hurt gimmick, which is kind of that sociopathic tendency that he has. Like I'm hoping that piece of it translates really well in the ring. I'm hoping it's just not a gimmick for the show, and it is something in the ring. I think that would be completely amazing. But only time will tell. I have this funny feeling that Bray's going to show up this at Stomping Ground. I'm just worried about who he's going to be pit up, who he's going to be up against. I'm hoping, and this is just me, I'm hoping it's not Aleister Black. I would love for him to pop up between the Joe and the Ricochet match and take out Ricochet, and then those two having a program. To me, I think that would be like fantastic. But we'll see. We've got a couple of days to go. And hopefully they play the cards right. It seems like Bray is having more and more control over his character, which I like. I think that's something that we've needed for a while. I'm gonna have to take off this thing here. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. So I'm hoping that I'm really hoping that comes to fruition. I think that would be pretty cool, but we'll definitely see about that. As far as SmackDown is concerned, SmackDown was a solid show. I don't think it was as strong as Raw was, which is kind of atypical. We usually have a strong SmackDown. One thing that I've been kind of thinking about throughout the two shows is on Monday, Paul Heyman came out and cut a promo. Like he cut this crazy promo about Brock Lesnar potentially being the special guest referee in the Seth Rollins match. And this is kind of 2 weeks in a row that it's been kind of hinted between commentary and Paul Heyman that that's going to happen. And I definitely think that this is a complete swerve. I know that most people, I'm hopefully thinking that most people are not buying it. That's what's going to happen. I think that I have this funny feeling if Kofi's match goes on last, Kofi's going to get cashed in on by Brock Lesnar. I think that that's where the money is right now. Is they're going to go for that shock value. They're going to make the cash in on Kofi Kingston at his height. That's going to be it. So I'm not feeling it just from an emotional standpoint, but I get it if it does happen that way. You guys know already, your boy is not a fan of Brock Lesnar holding any championship belts, especially if he's not going to be defending it week after week. I know that many of you feel that he's an attraction and a draw, and they should only be defending his belt at pay-per-views. But to me, I feel that devalues the entire roster and their opportunity to make a name for themselves surrounding the actual title. It basically pigeonholes creative, and we saw that the better half of last year, where the creative was trying their hardest to try to make a compelling product away from the belt, to the point that they were kind of centering the product around the Intercontinental belt. And I don't want to see that, on SmackDown, especially because it's a 2-hour show and it's limited to the amount of people that actually get to be on air with it. Just to me, I think that that's just completely garbage and trash if they go out that way. But we'll, only time will tell, how that goes. But yeah, that's my biggest concern there. Shout outs to Daniel Bryan putting on an excellent match on Raw with Rowan, and then putting on an excellent match against Seth Rollins, and then turning around and being like golden on the mic during commentary with Heavy Machinery. Daniel Bryan is just a gem. Like I love the fact that Daniel Bryan is just like, he brings so much value, and you can tell like he he cares about the people that he is in the ring he's in the ring or programmed to be with. He does his best to sell them, even if it sounds as though that he's like taking shots at him and stuff like that. That commentary was hilarious, man. He was sitting there telling people, why would you just stand there while you know he's coming? Like, I would have rolled out of the way if that were me. Like, that got me, man. Just straight up common sense, man. That's my boy DB. I'll always be a fan of DB. Always be a fan of DB. That's my boy, man. Shout out to the Toronto Raptors and Plant Man. Last week they inked a win to get that championship for the NBA Finals. Wanted to make sure I threw that in there before we got into predictions, but that's it, man. The overall SmackDown Raw was pretty decent this week. I'm hoping that this whole Shane thing kind of gets put to bed pretty quickly. It's starting to run a little bit stale. I get what they're doing. They're trying to position Shane to be like the Vince McMahon of this kind of generation. But I feel like that it's at the detriment of the product itself. This feels like Shane's, and I said this previously, feels like Shane's last hurrah. But they need to make a little bit more of a compelling storyline, especially if it's going to end with The Miz. It needs to be done they need to do a better job, and stop surrounding him with goons, because it's not a good look. So, all right, so let's talk about getting into predictions. I'm gonna pull up the card here, and we're gonna go ahead and go through it one by one. And I'm gonna go ahead and give some commentary around it as well, because I know I didn't go into too deep into episode after episode. I told you guys I wasn't gonna do that anymore. Now with it just being me solo, but when I give these, I'm gonna also tell you like my level between 1 and 5. 5 being like the most interested, and 1 being like, I don't want it, I don't care. Just my level of interest in this particular match. So likely to be on the pre-show is going to be Big E, Xavier versus Sammy and KO. I'm interested in this match. I give this about a 3. I'm interested in the match as far as like I think it's going to be a good match. These 4 don't disappoint whenever they're in the ring, whether it's together, solo, or otherwise. It's going to be relegated to the pre-show. I think that Sammy and KO are going to ink out a win on this one here. Just to me, I think it just makes sense for that to happen. There's not really any consequence to this. The build for this wasn't really. It was just more to kind of fill the time, in my opinion. So then we have Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. My level of interest in this match is like a 2. And 2 is just being polite, to be honest with you. 2 good talents, especially Drew McIntyre. Match with no consequence. This is more of a blood feud. I think I would be more interested in this match if there was some type of stipulation to it. You got 2 big hosses, but this is just a Claymore versus Superman punch kind of thing. And I still feel when it comes to Roman Reigns that he's been working extremely light, and I don't know if that's because of his health. But it's something of note. I'm hoping that maybe after this, I don't want to see him involved in any titles, but I'm hoping after this that we'd see a little bit more in terms of physicality in the ring, as opposed to just kind of some shots outside the ring, and some backstage promos and stuff like that. But who knows? We'll see. First title match, which I'm hoping does not make the pre-show. I'm hoping this makes the main card. It's going to be the Cruiserweight title. We've got Tony Nese, who's the champion, versus Drew Gulak and Akira Tozawa. I got to go with my boy Drew Gulak, man. It's been time for this guy to be champion. He is arguably the best overall talent on 205 Live, and dare I say, top 5 on the main roster itself. He's got the mic skills. He's got the technical prowess. We've seen him take it to Roman Reigns as a I don't know what you call him, but like as a henchman in the past. So he can square up with the best of them. It's his time, man. When he was in that faction after Enzo Amore left, even during that storyline, he just completely shined, and no one gave him the opportunity to kind of explore after that. So Drew Gulak for the win on this one for that. So next up, we got the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Daniel Bryan, Rowan versus Heavy Machinery. I think it's the Planet's Champs versus Heavy Machinery. My level of interest in this match, just like the Cruiserweight match, is definitely going to be a 4. I love anything that Daniel Bryan's involved in, and I think that he's literally lifted the stock of Rowan up tremendously, which is crazy considering that everyone that Rowan has tagged with, mainly the Wyatt family, it's never worked out. He's never been in a position of power. He's never been credible. But with Daniel Bryan, he's credible. And it's fun. We've actually seen him win matches, as opposed to Daniel Bryan finishing the matches. So this one's kind of hard. I think it's way too soon for Heavy Machinery to be champs. And I think it's way too soon for Daniel Bryan and Rowan to lose the belts. I think that Heavy Machinery is the right tag team to take it, but not at this juncture. I still think that SmackDown has an identity crisis when it comes to tag teams. So they need to build them up in order for this to actually work. Now during SmackDown, we saw Heavy Machine, or not Heavy Machinery, but AOP, and it looks like it's not relevant, but I noticed it. It seems like they've been focusing on speaking English, which to me I think that's a travesty. Only because I like that mystique that they were speaking a different language, and it just made them seem a little bit more devastating. But you never know. So I'm hoping that we get maybe at SummerSlam a 4-way dance between Daniel Bryan, or the Planet's Champions, Heavy Machinery, AOP, and another tag team for the belts. I'm thinking that that's where it's going to ultimately go. So with that being said, the Planet's Champions, I have retaining the belts for that. Next up, we got the United States Championship. Now, Joe doesn't have the greatest track record of defending the titles that he receives, and that's a damn shame. I think that he is great as champion. He brings so much value as champion, but for whatever reason, they just don't run with him. I think that this might be the first time that he's actually going to defend the belt and actually retain it, and retain it for a good while. My hope, again, as I alluded to in the Raw review, is I'm hoping that Bray Wyatt shows up and takes out Ricochet. And I'm hoping that it's in a more eventful way and a more impactful way than how Bray Wyatt normally does it, with the lights coming out or coming down and then him appearing out of nowhere. I want this, I would like to have that Kane feeling where the lights are just going either crazy, or you have red everywhere, and then he just comes out. Maybe he puts the heel in hurt and then just goes hurt and then just takes out Ricochet. This spot is this would solidify this version of the Fiend / Bray Wyatt. There's no perfect person to do this to at this juncture than Ricochet. So y'all see how passionate I am about this, man. This is a 5 on my radar list, just for the simple fact that I'm hoping that Bray Wyatt gets himself involved in the match. So we'll see. Hopefully that'll happen, but we'll see. All right, so next up we got the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. Now I've had some time to kind of mull this one over. Alexa Bliss is on Raw and Bayley's on SmackDown, and it's just insane to me to know that this is even a match that's actually happening. But again, this is a testament that the brand split is completely over. I get, I'm interested. I am interested in this match. I'm going to give it a 3 in terms of my interest level for this match. I want Bayley to retain the belt. I love this Moment of Bliss segment, or I think that's what it's called, the Moment of Bliss segment between them two. And I liked the fact that Bayley came out in street clothes. I want to see more of that thuggish Bayley versus the happy-go-lucky Bayley, because I think that's what her character really needs. It needs to be a little bit rough around the edges. So I'm hoping that we get that. I think Bayley's going to retain this, but I believe that somehow Nikki, this is just kind of weird. I don't want Nikki to cost Alexa the belt or the championship or the opportunity. But that's kind of weird. Like they've really put Nikki in a weird position on the outside looking in. I'm hoping that there's some kind of surprise angle that we're just not seeing, which would be, great kudos, credit to the writing staff if they can pull this off. Because I guarantee this is sitting at a 1 or 2 on the interest level in many people. But for me, I'm wanting to see what the payoff is with having Nikki Cross in this angle here. I'm hoping it's just not a rinse and repeat of her and Bliss, having a disagreement and argument, and ultimately costs Alexa the championship, and then they have a program. Like, I don't want to see that. So and even if Nikki costs Bayley the championship, and even that I would be all right with. Just as long as Bayley stays in the picture of the title, I think I'd be all right with that. So, but I am going to pick Bayley for the win on this one here. All right, so next up we have the Raw's Women's Champion Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans, and again, as I said during the Raw review, this has got to be the last time that we see these two ladies intertwined with each other, regardless of who wins this particular match. I, like many other people, think it's way too early to put Lacey in that spot as champion. And it's not even so much just about her wrestling prowess with me, so much as I don't think she has the great chemistry at this juncture with the other female wrestlers, which is the reason why we don't see her wrestle with the others on it. So if you end up giving Lacey the belt or the opportunity to run with the belt right here, you're almost guaranteed that she's going to be saddled with Becky Lynch for the next 4 months. And I don't want to see that at all. I'm hoping that Becky's title reign eventually ends with Ronda Rousey coming out and costing her the championship. So then that way the title is no longer an object of Becky's ire. Ronda Rousey's back in that spot of vengeance, of having that storyline go. So, but we'll see. I am going to pick Becky to win with this one here. I think it's the right thing to do, and hopefully if she inks the win on this one here, Lacey Evans goes on to something else for a little while. And so that's it. All right, so then we have the steel cage match for the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston champion versus Dolph Ziggler. Now for this one here, I truly think that this one will. I think this will actually go on last. I don't know. So this one's kind of difficult. Because this could be the heater, and if it's the heater, then I don't even know. If this is the heater match, then Brock is not cashing in. if the WWE Universal Championship is the heater match, which I could see that being the heater match, the match that goes on first for the night, then I can see Kofi Kingston getting cashed in on at the end of the night. Because I don't see that you close with Seth and Baron unless you have someone special coming out as the referee. And it's I don't know, that one's gonna be kind of difficult. We'll go for the sake of this review. We'll go with the steel cage match going on first. I have Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler. Providing that Brock Lesnar does not show, I think Kofi Kingston will retain the belt for this. I think that they're going to saddle him with the belt until at least SummerSlam. I'm hoping that with this win, he goes on to fight someone completely different. And I hope it's not Shane. I know that there's reports out there and rumors out there that says that Shane McMahon is possibly going to be in contendership for the belt against Kofi Kingston. And this is probably the worst mistake that you could ever do from a creative standpoint. You really, with Kofi winning the belt and the iconic symbolism around him winning the belt, the best way to take away or deflate that is by having either his own people turn against him or the cash-in. It's got to be one of those two for him to lose the belt. It can't be Shane McMahon. It can't. You can only do the shock value so much and with such carelessness to the point where you just ruin everything. And I'm hoping that WWE is not inclined to do that for the shock value. We don't need to see Shane as champion, at least not with taking it from Kofi. If you want the shock value, have Kofi lose the belt against Brock Lesnar and then have Shane beat Brock Lesnar if that's the shock value that you guys want to go for. But don't let it be Shane McMahon who takes the belt from him. To me, it's just silly and stupid. And then the final match of the night, we have the Universal Championship, Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin. With the special guest referee to be announced, assuming that it is going to be Brock Lesnar, I still have Seth Rollins winning. I would love nothing more than Baron Corbin to be the champion. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to pick Baron Corbin to win the championship here. I'm going to pick him to win it. I don't think it's going to be the special guest referee, and I'm hoping that he doesn't lose it straight after him winning it, because then that's kind of reminiscent of him losing his Money in the Bank opportunity as soon as he cashed it in. Although that was funny at the time that he did that, I'm hoping that doesn't happen here. But yeah, let's go with Baron Corbin for the win on this. This is gonna be a shocker. I think that Baron Corbin will ink the victory out of Seth Rollins on this one here. It's about time Baron to be champion. For as much crap as we give him as fans, he's doing his job and he's doing it very well, and he has been for quite a long time. But yeah, let's go with Baron Corbin for the win on that one. But let us know what your picks are, man. Hit on this video. Go ahead and comment on who it is. If you're on Twitter, you're listening to us on the audio podcast, want to hit us up on Twitter, just hit hashtag IRWP with your picks and let us know. And tell us if we're crazy. Tell me, am I crazy? Is your boy crazy for picking Baron Corbin to win the Universal title and for Bray Wyatt to be attacking Ricochet? You let your boy know, because that's what I want to know. So let's go ahead and so we covered Raw, we covered SmackDown, we covered the pay-per-view Stomping Grounds, which is an awful name for a pay-per-view. Awful name. There was something that I wanted to talk about. The last couple of weeks have been kind of strange for the IWC. In terms of involvement in the matches, in wrestlers' matches. I can't even believe that I'm going to even be addressing this, to be honest with you, but it's got to be addressed. It really does. So a couple of weeks ago, I saw a video with Taya Valkyrie from Impact. And her and a fan were going at it, like a verbal jousting between the two. And I'm not here to point blame on either one of them because they both could have handled it differently. I get Valkyrie is a heel wrestler, but there's just some lines you just don't cross as fans. One, I get you paid your ticket. You can, cheer for who you want to, boo for who you want to. But racial slurs, misogynistic slurs, and spitting on wrestlers to me, is where you draw the line. To me, I consider that to be assault. And no one, regardless if they're in character or not, deserves to have that thrusted upon them. If you can't get away with it in the club, you shouldn't be doing it at a venue, at a wrestling venue. And I just thought that even though that Taya did hit, which I don't think that she should have done either, although, it is a heel shtick to do. I still think that in this day and climate, you shouldn't do that either. She hit someone's drink out of their hand, and then that person in turn spat on her. So there was that incident. The other incident, which was probably the one that really bothered me the most, is Scarlett Bordeaux. Apologize if I mispronounced her name, but she was at an event, and I believe it was in Mexico, and she did I believe she did a suicide dive outside the ropes to hit one of the other wrestlers. And usually when they do that, they have their back against the guardrails, and kind of like Finn Balor does it like all the time. But she didn't have her back against the guardrail. She just had her back turned, and one of the fans like literally grabbed her, pulled her back, and was basically like massaging her from top to bottom. And I'm thinking to myself, like what possesses a person to actually go out and do something like that? Like, would you literally do that to a male wrestler? Would you actually do that to someone in the club? If your answer is yes, you're garbage, first off. But two, like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, nothing gives you the right to put your hands on someone else unless they give you consent to do it. And I'm not trying to sound like a social justice warrior or white knight of the situation. It's just the way that I would feel. I wouldn't want someone doing that to me, and I'm pretty sure that person wouldn't have want someone to do that to them either. But yet, they felt the need to do that. And Scarlett came out and said that, hey, she didn't even notice it until someone showed her the replay, but she felt extremely violated when that actually happened, and I completely agree with that. And as wrestling fans, like, we really need to take a step back. Remember, we may be part of the show, but we are not this show. No pun intended. We should not at any given point be involving ourselves to the point where we are caressing and grabbing people. It's not something that we should be doing at all. It's very disrespectful, and it's a poor representation of us as fans. Remember, these people do it because they love it and they have passion for doing this. And the last thing that we would want is for someone to not have the passion to do this, what they love, because we as fans took it too far out there. But yeah, we need to do better as a community. We just got to do better, guys and girls. I think that there was also in that same event, one of the girls or one of the ladies in the crowd was spanking one of the wrestlers as they jumped the guardrail, which to me, again, that's unacceptable as well. But we've got to do better. Like we do. Because one of these days you're gonna come across the wrong one, and I'm not advocating for violence or anything like that, but you do that, it's assault, and they have a right to defend themselves. And if it doesn't go the way that you thought it was gonna go when you did what you did, I ain't gonna feel sorry for you, and I'm hoping that nobody else feels sorry for you either. So, be better. Literally, let's just be better as a community, because you ruin it for one, you're gonna ruin it for us all. And I'll be damned, 30 plus years of watching wrestling, I'd be damned to not be able to participate and watch wrestling the way I enjoy it, because you decided to go out and do your own thing. So that's what I gotta say about that. So all right, so enough of that soapbox there, guys. Again, make sure y'all go ahead and check us out at Twitter, at Real WrestleCast on Twitter. We are also on Instagram. It's Real Wrestling Podcast, all spelled out. If you want to support your boys, we got the Patreon. Again, Project Canyon is still in the works. We're about 60% due through the project itself. If you want to help us out, help us get the resources that we need to get Project Canyon going, please join us at Patreon for more details. Patreon.com/IRWP. Anything that you can help to contribute, helps, even if it's just sharing out our podcast to get more people to listen. That's completely, grateful. So before I close the show, I did want to make a comment about something I watched this weekend. Or this week, I should say. Not wrestling related. So, we're going to have to let's take it a step down, guys. Let's take it a step down. Let's take a step down. So, I did not get to have the chance to watch and take my girls to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But I've always heard great stories about how great the story was, and I believe it was nominated or even got some Academy Awards, even a nomination for Best Picture of the Year overall. So it was definitely on my list of things to watch, and I had an opportunity to actually go out and watch that last night, and I wholeheartedly agree with all the critics that was one of the best films I have ever seen. It's probably in my top 10. And that's crazy for an animated flick, which, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was just so much I loved about it. I loved the art form where we had a comic book aspect of the art. We also had representation from anime. We had representation from cell shades. We had I think at the very beginning we had more of a realistic CGI kind of thing, which was pretty cool as well. And shout outs to Peter B. Parker. Yo, we need more. If we're gonna make another spinoff to this, let's let it be around Peter B. Parker, man. That was the realest story of a Spider-Man that I have ever seen, and I absolutely loved it. It was reminiscent of Fat Thor. So yeah. Y'all go check that out, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I plan on doing a deep dive review of it in the future, because I think there's a lot to dissect, and it was just so good. So y'all go check that out again, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Check that out. So with that being said, guys, your boy is out. I hope you guys enjoy Stomping Ground, and thank you so much for the support on the Orange Cassidy review that I did last week. Got a lot of positive reviews for that. Probably one of the best videos aside from our Apex Legends video in the last 60 days. So I definitely appreciate everyone. Make sure you guys share that out. Love to know you guys' thoughts as always. This is a community podcast. We don't do this without you. So make sure that you make yourself heard and let us know what you want to see, want to talk about. You ever want to be on the podcast as well, we do this ad hoc too. Even when we're live, if you want to be on the podcast, let us know. Let your boy know. I'll put you on. And then we could all talk wrestling together, because that's what we do here at the IRWP. So with that being said, again, thank you so much for watching and listening to It's Real Wrestling Podcast. Check us out everywhere that we are, because that's what we are. And y'all know the drill. Keep it real. Thank you so much, guys, for watching It's Real Wrestling Podcast. It's Real Wrestling Podcast. Please make sure that you guys remember that the thoughts and opinions of IRWP is that of the host and or guest and does not reflect IRWP as a whole. Be sure to check us out. It's Real Wrestling Podcast on any podcast catcher that you go and see. We're on Instagram. It's Real Wrestling Podcast, all spelled out. Twitter at Real Wrestling. At Real WrestleCast on Twitter. You want to support your boys, support them at patreon.com/IRWP. We got behind the scenes. We've got projects that we're doing. We've got a lot of fun stuff for members only. Go check us out, IRWP, patreon.com/IRWP. I'll keep it real.